just hope that the anti-terrorist action would be accompanied with a political initiative to find some kind of peace between the two nations. And the convoy, the Israeli army owned up to the mistakes. That's not enough. They need to compensate the family. They argue that that World Central Kitchen also made some mistakes. I'm not in a position to comment.
Do you consider it to have been a war crime?
I'm not a judge, but dealing with terrorism does not absolve you from respecting the wars of humanitarian and the wars of law. That's for sure.
And just briefly, Minister, because we're almost out of time, you asked Israel to assist in that investigation that Polish prosecutors are carrying out. Have they agreed?
I don't have a feedback yet from our Justice Ministry.
OK, we'll have to leave it there for the moment. Sure. Polish Foreign Minister Radesk Sikorski, thanks very much for joining us on BBC News. Well, that is it for the moment. Do stay with us here on BBC News. I'm Katrina Perry. Thanks for watching. Take care now. Bye.
Hello there. The weather at this time of the year really can be very fickle, as we've seen over the past week. And during the bank holiday weekend, it's going to be a mixture, really, where there'll be some sunshine at times. There'll also be some heavy showers. It could be quite warm, but we're not going to reach the high temperatures that we've seen in the past few days. Take you back to Thursday, and all 4 home nations had their warmest day of the year. And we maintained those sort of temperatures in Western Scotland and Northern Ireland on Friday. But for Suffolk and North Wales, it was much colder because of cloud and rain. That's moving its way a little bit further north, but we've got some more rain to come on Saturday across Northern Ireland. Some heavy showers pushing across Scotland. May turn a bit drier in North Wales and Northern England, but still a lot of cloud. To the south, though, we'll see some sunshine after a chilly start. A few showers developing in the southeast of England. But in the sunshine across Midlands, Southern England, South Wales, East Anglia, it's going to be a warmer day, 16, 17 degrees. We could reach 19 in the northwest of Scotland before those heavy showers arrive. There's a few more showers, though, to come in Scotland and Northern Ireland, perhaps the far north of England. Should be a bit brighter, but a bit of sunshine will trigger some thunderstorms. The odd shower across England and Wales, and a bit of rain coming into the far southwest. That's keeping temperatures a little bit lower here. But otherwise, widely, temperatures are going to be a reasonable 16 to 18 degrees on Sunday afternoon. Now, there is a bit of rain in the southwest. It's on that weather front there, an area of low pressure. Not really much wind to move things on at all. There's a bit of uncertainty as to how far north that showery rain could get, but it's pushing a little further north into England and Wales. There'll be some sunshine, but we're also going to trigger some more of these slow-moving, heavy thundery showers, particularly in Scotland. And temperature-wise, on Monday afternoon for the bank holiday, typically 16 or 17 degrees. Now, after the bank holiday, the weather is going to change, wouldn't you know it, and it's going to get a lot drier because that area of low pressure moves away and this area of high pressure will build in. Now, around the top of it next week, we could well see a rain towards northwestern areas of the UK. But on the whole, it is looking like it's going to get dry after Monday. There'll be more in the way of sunshine around as well. And if anything, those temperatures are going to be rising, getting into the low 20s in many places later in the week.
I'm not sure I've actually said this before. I came up there and I cried. Wow.
A symbol of friendship to some, panda diplomacy to others.
That world has eaten up and spit out a lot of young and attractive guys.
There's always more to the story with our podcasts. Listen on BBC Sounds.
The art of good conversation is to say the right thing at the right time and in the right way. You have to be original, sympathetic, encouraging, and also keep an open mind. And you really do just need to sit back and listen.
Catty Kay chats with prominent names from the worlds of business, science, and culture.
Influential with me, Catty Kay. Watch on BBC iPlayer.
I'll make sure the mics are Recording us, Margaret Atwood, welcome to This Cultural Life.
Some of the world's leading artistic figures revealed to me their influences.
You try and meet more or less everyone who wants to meet you because you never know where things go.
And the experiences that have inspired their own work.
People around me never said you can't do this.
I was totally in love with Monk.
Now I'm blushing. Find out what fires the creative imagination with John Wilson. This Cultural Life. Watch on BBC iPlayer.
BBC News stands accused of wasting money. Welcome to Newswatch with me, Samira Ahmed. Coming up, was it really necessary to send the BBC's political editor and news presenters to Scotland on the day of the First Minister's resignation? Or does it show the BBC's commitment to broadcasting from and for all the nations and regions of the UK? It's been a big week in politics, not just because of the local elections in England and Wales, but because of the political drama that took place in Scotland on Monday. That evening's news at 6 started in slightly comical fashion.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to the BBC News at 6, live from the Holyrood Parliament in Edinburgh on a tumultuous day in Scottish politics. Humza Yousaf has announced he is standing down as SNP leader and Scotland's First Minister after just 13 months in office.
A number of viewers contacted us, concerned not by that brief and unscheduled appearance from Chris Mason at the start there, but by what the BBC's political editor and presenter Jane Hill were doing in Edinburgh in the first place. There's already a Scotland editor for BBC News, James Cook, and he was on the spot and reporting on the story too, and joining Chris and Jane in a discussion about the implications of Humza Yousaf's resignation. Amanda Thomas was one of those asking this question. Was it really necessary to send Jane Hill and Chris Mason to Edinburgh today? James Cook is excellent and knows the Edinburgh patch well. BBC Scotland also has an excellent team of journalists and political reporters who are more than capable of accurate, in-depth reporting. Please consider the costs of this unnecessary jolly. Last-minute airfares, hotels, etc. We keep being told that you're broke. Well, you could have saved some money on this. Well, Mary Jane Wright also got in touch with us, and we can now speak to her. Hello, Mary Jane. Thank you for coming on Newswatch. What did you object to about the BBC's coverage of this story?
Well, mainly it was what your correspondent just said, is that was it really necessary to send Chris Mason and Jane Hill there? The BBC in Scotland have excellent reporters. They know the area extremely well, and they live there. Chris Mason and Jane Hill are very good. There's no problem with them. But really, to send 2 more reporters and then to have 3 reporters standing having a discussion with not a political person in sight was a bit, I don't know, it just seemed a little bit overkill to me.
This is an issue that's come up before for viewers. Do you not think that it's ever justified sending national news people to do such live broadcasts from the locations of big stories elsewhere?
It depends on the story. Was it an important story? Yes, but you don't need 3 people standing there, 3 reporters standing there discussing it. And it's big stories are big stories, and obviously with things going on, you can't have one reporter there reporting for 24 hours a day. So you do need extra reporters, but. This really, no, I don't think it warranted extra people there.
I suppose the other issue, which one of the other viewers mentioned, was at a time when the BBC is talking about budget cuts and cutting jobs, is this a wise use of licence fee payers' money, sending people up?
Exactly. BBC do some excellent programmes. I'm very, very supportive of the BBC, but, in times are strained, and it is difficult for all companies to cover their costs in some cases, and to send people somewhere, airfares or rail fares and hotels, they're not cheap.
Mary Jane Wright, thank you so much.
Thank you, Samira.
We did ask for someone from BBC News to come on the programme to discuss the deployment of London-based staff to Scotland on Monday. But our invitation was refused. Instead, we were given this statement. It was a very significant moment in UK and Scottish politics, and we decided to mark that by co-presenting the BBC News at 6 and 10 from Edinburgh. Chris Mason is the UK political editor, reporting the biggest political stories of the day on and from where substantial power, influence and consequence is within the UK, not just Westminster. He reports from Belfast, Cardiff, Edinburgh and from across England, particularly when events there have ripples that matter wherever you're watching in the UK. There have been many upsetting and shocking images from the Middle East over the past 7 months or so, and parts of Fergal Keane's report, shown on Friday last week on BBC One's news bulletins, certainly fitted into that category. The subject was the death of a baby named Sabrine, who had been rescued from her dying mother's womb after an Israeli airstrike in southern Gaza. We were shown pictures of Sabrine struggling for life in hospital, and later, her body being brought home to her community. We won't be showing that footage ourselves, but here's an excerpt from later in the report.
Today, her uncle Rami prayed at Sabrine's grave. Overhead, an Israeli drone. The loss that changed everything for this family changes nothing in the war.
This girl left a mark on everyone's heart. She moved the whole world. To me, Sabrine was the living legacy of my brother.
Before the report was shown on the news at 6, there was a warning from the presenter about the distressing images to come. But that wasn't enough for this caller to our phone line.
Hello, my name is Christine Mogford. I live in Devon, and I've just been watching the 6 o'clock news on BBC One about the death of a baby. It's way beyond before the watershed. It's far too graphic. It's very, very upsetting, and children could be watching this. I just wanted to express our disgust. Thank you.
Colin Gould made a similar point on email. I'm horrified by some of the images that have been shown on your 6 p.m. bulletin. It is inconceivable that you find it acceptable to show such terrible and graphic images at a time when young children could well be watching with parents. Why can this not be held back until the 10 p.m. news bulletin, where a more suitable audience is likely watching? Well, we put that to BBC News and they told us, we take considered and difficult decisions when it comes to showing graphic images on the news bulletins. The reality of the situation in Gaza is very distressing, and it's a careful balance between showing the truth of the situation and protecting audiences from the most graphic images. It is our policy to warn people if there are distressing images coming up in a report, as we understand that some people might not wish to see these images and that children may be watching the earlier bulletins. That same day, BBC One's lunchtime news showed a report ahead of the 80th anniversary of the D-Day landings, the largest seaborne invasion in history, which began the liberation of France.
When the Second World War broke out, these veterans of the Normandy landings were the same age as some of the school children they're meeting today.
We, my colleagues, we went through it. We know the little stories, and it's important that they know.
When you think of learning about history and D-Day, you always watch movies, you read books, you think of all these things, but then you never really realise what it's like until you hear these people actually talking about it.
The Allied invasion of northern France succeeded in wresting Europe from Nazi occupation.
Nick Biggleston was watching carefully and got in touch with us afterwards about an error with the archive footage at the end of that clip. Having seen today's lunchtime news, the BBC laudably included an item on the 80th D-Day anniversary, including educating young children by D-Day veterans. However, the newsreel actually started by showing Dunkirk evacuation newsreel. Yes, the Dunkirk section was very short, but is repeatedly shown whenever the Dunkirk evacuation is being referred to. Surely the BBC should know the difference and broadcast actual D-Day newsreel. It appears that staff within the BBC newsroom would have benefited attending the event, together with the young children. Finally, more people than ever before in history are voting in elections this year, and the biggest of those elections is underway in India, where almost 1 billion people are casting their ballots over a 6-week period. Yogita Limai's report appeared on the news at 10 a couple of weeks ago.
A right given to every adult citizen since India's independence. More than 75 years on, it remains a much cherished one. Despite the blazing heat, people came out. Many here are farmers and daily wagers, coming in early so they can get to their jobs after voting.
The logistical challenge of such a democratic exercise is mind-boggling, but there's also a challenge to journalists covering the election. Prashant Kadam had a plea to make. Dear BBC team, as a concerned citizen of India, I am reaching out to you regarding the pressing issue of biased media and the need for fair elections in our country. Biased reporting, partiality and undue influence have marred the integrity of our democratic process. It is crucial to ensure that every citizen's right to a free and fair vote is upheld. In light of these challenges, I urge you to amplify your coverage of the Indian elections by shedding light on the discrepancies and injustices present in our electoral system. You can help raise global awareness. Your impartial reporting and investigative journalism have the power to hold those in authority accountable and to advocate for the principles of democracy that are fundamental to our society. Thank you, Prashant, and thank you all for your comments this week. If you want to share your opinions about what you see or hear on BBC News, on TV, radio, online and social media, email newswatch@bbc.co.uk, or you can find us on X, formerly known as Twitter, @NewsWatchBBC. You can call us on 0370 010 6676 and do have a look at previous interviews on our website, bbc.co.uk/newswatch. That's all from us for now. Thank you for joining us. Do think about getting in touch and perhaps even coming on the programme. Now, I am away next week, but Rajini Vaidyanathan will be here for more of your thoughts about how the BBC covers the news, and I will be back in a fortnight. Goodbye.